Hey, look at that. I actually booted up the stream today and it wasn't working. And I was like, oh shit, what did I break? What did I... So I spent like 5 minutes fixing it. Yeah, I'm still... God, I gotta tweak those settings more. It's still very loud in my ear. Splatcast. Yeah, yada yada. Who really cares? Are we gonna get a Halloween Splatfest? If we were, I figured they would have announced it by now. So I'm gonna guess we're not going to. And I guess that kinda sucks. Because people loved the Halloween Splatfest in Splatoon 2. Right? Splatoween was beloved. To be fair, that happened in the game's second year. Or, yeah. But, of course, this game is now in its second year, as of last month. So, you know, it would make sense to do something like that, but I guess not. I guess not. So, yeah, here we are, back again within chat on a Friday. Yeah. Because the goal tomorrow is Spider-Man. Alright, I've been having a blast with Spider-Man. It's got problems, but I've been enjoying it. And tomorrow, my goal is to do the DLC. We got a lot of DLC to do, so I'm going to do all that DLC. I don't love the DLC. I don't despise it. I've played far worse games. But I don't hate the DLC. You know, it's just got... its villain sucks. I'm not even gonna be... You know, I know people have problems with the villain of the main game. Perfectly valid problems, might I add. But the villain of the DLC is just stupid. Not even that I really have a problem with its character. It's just, you know how, like, Mary Jane is basically just Lois Lane, right? They basically just took Lois Lane's personality and made that Mary Jane's. Well, the villain, they just took another character's personality and made it Metallo. Yeah, that's all they did. They made a Spider-Man villain into a Superman villain. And it really doesn't fit, especially when I want to say there is a Spider-Man villain that turns himself into a robot. I just don't remember which one. I just know it's not the one that they did. So, yeah, you know, I'm not entirely looking forward to it. But, you know, I'm still enjoying the game, and then after that we get to do Miles Morales. And Miles Morales is awesome. And then the new Spider-Man game comes out on Friday. It's a week from today. Not that we are streaming it or anything. You know, maybe my second go-around. But on my first go-around, nah. Man. I've killed off so many of them. And every one I take down, one takes its place. So the stories tonight, we're going to talk about the new PS5, you know, like that's the obvious thing, the PS5 Slim. We're definitely talking about that. And then I also plan to talk about the mob vote. We spent like an hour talking about the mob vote last week. But some things have changed since last week. In less than 7 days. Like, there was already some, you know... What is the word I'm looking for? Didn't I have a water somewheres? I had a water somewheres and I don't know where it is. Where the fuck is my water? I don't know where my water is. I have this soda, but I wanted water. I like water. Does it not pick up when I talk like this? Huh, that's an interesting threshold. I don't remember what I have it set at. But yeah, so we're going to talk about the mob vote, because things have changed. Is disillusioned the word I'm going for? I don't know. Things have changed. A lot of development has happened over the past 7 days. So we're going to talk about that. And then finally, I've got a bunch of stuff on WIBE. I got a food thing for the first time in a while. I have a book thing. Yeah, I finished a book. And a sequel to a book we talked about previously. So yeah, I've got that going for me. And then, yeah. And, of course, the strike, we found out that the SAG-AFTRA and the AMTPT were negotiating. But negotiations seem to have fallen through for the moment. Because studios refused to budge on AI. Right? Because, studios just want to scan an actor's likeness and then just use that forever. Right? Just some of the scummiest shit you can imagine. So, negotiations fell apart because of that. And I want to say the actors want, 2% royalties from streaming. Not much at all. Right? Not much at all. And nope, the streaming services say that is, that's impossible to do. Which we know is a fucking lie, because the actors, or the writers, literally just got that. Right? Everything the streaming services, the AMTPT, is saying is impossible are things that the writers just got. So it looks like the strike will probably go on for probably another 50 days. And then they'll go back to the table. And then things will probably change. Yeah. So, because the writers got what they wanted. And now the actor, there's no way, right? Writers all work behind the scenes. The actors, though, those are the big names, right? Those are, people go see movies, right? Tom Cruise sells $1 billion movies. So, yeah, no, the actors are going to get whatever they want. If the writers got it, you better believe the actors are going to get it. I'm surprised they didn't just give it all to the actors right now. Because this is definitely a fight Hollywood can't win. The fact that the writers got everything they wanted is all the proof I need. So, yeah. And yeah, I think that's all we've got for today. So, I guess let's talk about the PlayStation. So, there have been rumors of a PS5 Slim for a while now. Right? Even though PS5s really only became available this year, I really feel like before this year, it was impossible to get a PS5. Like, the first time I ever went to a store and saw one on a shelf was like May of this year. And of course, as soon as this happens, now they're creating a new PlayStation unit. Now, of course, I know there are some problems with the PS5. I know there's something where if you have the console vertical and you're using it for long periods of time, like the thing that holds up the processor or the motherboard, there's some sort of thing that melts. I don't know enough about computers to remember what it is, but something melts in there that just sticks stuff together, and that can be a problem if you have the console vertical and you're using it 24/7. Hopefully, they fix that problem. It's something to do with thermal paste. Even though, it's thermal paste, it still has that problem. I don't remember what it is, though. It's thermal... It's on the CPU, maybe? Something like that. So, hopefully, they fix that issue. Of course, we did get other specs about this new PlayStation. It's lighter. There's no, spec difference, right? It doesn't have, a better GPU or anything. The one spec difference is it has more storage. I want to say the PlayStation 5 has, 800 gigabytes of storage. This Slim has, I want to say, 1 terabyte. So, it's a marginal difference, but it is still a difference. And, for some people that really matters. Of course, it is still expandable. It does look, it looks just like the current PS5, but it's a lot slimmer. It is going to have 2 editions. A digital edition for $450. and a disc edition for $500. So kind of like the current PS, because this whole PS5 Slim is just to replace the existing PS5. That's it, right? Eventually, they're going to stop manufacturing the current PS5 and only model the Slim version. You know, it's a minor up. It's kind of like the new Nintendo, not the new Nintendo Switch. You know, when they redid the Nintendo Switch, and the only difference was the battery life got like doubled. That's kind of what this is, right? The only real big difference is that it has a few more gigabytes of storage, and it's a lot lighter. And you know, it's a lot slimmer as well. There is one other thing. So even though the difference between the disc in the digital versions are $50, they are actually going to be selling a separate disc drive for $80 that you can attach to the digital version. So in theory, you can buy a digital version for $450, and then for another $80, buy a disc drive that you can attach and turn your digital into a disc. Why then is the PS5 digital $450 and not $420? Well, obviously the $420 thing. But honestly, it kind of surprises me that, no, they still didn't do that. Even if they had tried to get the digital version down to $400, that would have been... Because how they're putting it is that the disc drive is $80, right? That may or may not be true, because I know Nintendo charges $80 for the Switch dock, the power supply, and an HDMI cable, right? That's $80 on a Switch. So that might just be their price point. But still, you would think they would be able to cut more off of the or the digital version. Because, you know, we are sadly streaming towards an all-digital future where you no longer own your video games. Because when Xbox, the Series X, has this refresh, probably not this year, probably next year. I don't know, the whole, if the leak is to be believed, was it this year? I honestly cannot remember if the leak said it was this year or next year. Whenever it is, right, that is supposedly going to be all digital as well. So that's a big thing, because, you know, companies don't want you owning your games. I'm a big fan of digital media, or physical media, right? The only games I have bought digital are our precious boy Splatoon here, and Animal Crossing. And the only reason I bought them digital is because I play them... I'm not going to say every day. Like, I haven't touched Animal Crossing in over a year. Well, okay, that's technically not true. I've touched Animal Crossing a few times for images and what... Like, you know, the current image you're seeing right now. But other than that, you know, I really haven't touched Animal Crossing. In Splatoon, I do about once a week. But in having those games digital, where I don't have to, you know... boot up the, like, change it, like, currently have Pikmin 4 in my Switch. If I want to play Splatoon, I then have to take out Pikmin 4, and then let's say tomorrow I want to play, I want to play Splatoon, take out Pikmin 4, and then let's say tomorrow I want to continue playing Pikmin 4, I then got to switch it out again, and switch it back. It can be a pain in the ass. For multiplayer, for, like, these online multiplayer games. So I, for the most part, you know, when it comes to, like, online games... like this, like Mario Kart. Mario Kart's another one I own digitally. I think it's just easier. I really do think it's just easier to have it digitally. But, yeah, those are the exception, right? That's 3 games. And I have, like, another, like, 20 that are physical. Basically everything else. There was one other... Oh, I think Clubhouse Games, but that was because it was on sale. But I am not all aboard the digital future. Nope. I like physical games that I can put on shelves. And then there's collector's editions that come with a carrying case, but don't come with a physical game. Right? It's a digital game, but they come with a freaking, like, steel book. And that's really fucking weird. At least Starfield, I saw someone unbox the Starfield Special Edition, and that came with, like, a special, like, coin that had the, like, digital edition code on it. So even if there's not something in the box, there's still something there. I think that's kind of cool. Right? It's better than nothing. Right? But I still would have rather had a physical edition. Right? Like my actual physical edition of Starfield. So yeah, I don't know. Deluxe editions are weird. I've only ever bought 2. Xenoblade and Tears of the Kingdom. And they literally just sit on my shelf all day. They don't do anything, they're not special. But I think they're neat. So yeah, the PS5, you know, these mid-generation upgrades are something to be expected. I still kind of think it's wild that we are coming up on 3 years in this current console generation. At least I think, again, I'm bad with time, so I think it's 3 years. So that's kind of weird, you know, because I'm pretty sure the Switch had its refresh about 3 years in. And then we got the one with the better battery life. And I want to say the OLED was 4 years in. Because the Slim was a year late. Maybe it might have been 2. I don't know. Was the Switch Lite a year or 2 after release? I don't remember. But no, these things are going to happen. We know Xbox's work. Again, Xbox's Slim or Series X version, that went from being a mini fridge to a freaking air purifier. We know that's coming out, right? Will it still look like an air purifier? Probably not, but maybe. I don't know. Now that I have an Xbox, I actually think it looks fine. I like how the PS5 looks. And the PS5 Slim is just a slim version of the PS5. And I like how the Xbox looks. Even though it's a giant fucking brick, I actually kind of like that brick design. And I like, and conceptually I like it, because it's got a giant fucking fan, because historically Xbox's biggest problem was its fan. That's what caused the Red Ring of Death that affected 50% of Xboxes. Yeah, 50% of Xboxes red ringed. Of course, I got an Xbox 360 after they fixed that problem. But that's still wild to think about in hindsight. So, yeah. But no, I think, you know, this was inevitable. Am I going to get it? No. Do I need to? Do I play the PS5 enough? No. No. Right, like, the OLED... and technically, I wasn't even planning on getting an OLED until my Switch broke. Right? That's the only reason I got an OLED. If my Switch hadn't broken, I probably wasn't going to get an OLED. But I like the OLED. It would have been nice if it had 4K, but whatever. And, you know, I guess the extra battery life is nice, even though I never really use it. So, yeah. Alright, so... anything else I gotta say about that? Let me see, did I write down anything else? Because I haven't even had my notes open. No, I do not. Nope. So, next up, the thing we gotta talk about is the mob vote. So, if you've been on TikTok recently, there's been a lot of talk about the mob vote. Specifically, there's been a series of posters set to the song Feed the Machine by Poor Man's Poison. I'm a big fan of Poor Man's Poison. I first heard about them when the last time they went viral with the Hell's Coming With Me. And I was like, oh, I really like this song. And yeah, you know, because they're a great band. And so seeing them go viral again, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, let's go. And yeah, it's been the song of the revolution, even though it's not the one I used, stupidly. So what's happened? So, right, there was the whole thing about the mob vote. And, you know, usually, we talked a long time about it last week. And I'm not going to go over all those points again. You know, go watch the stream from last week. We talked about it for like 50 minutes. But basically, it's the same thing it always is. People call Mojang lazy, even though they arguably aren't. Again, we went over a lot of that last week. That, it seems to be Mojang isn't lazy. It's just their development is wrapped up in so much red tape. Right? To add any feature to the game is a pain in the ass. That's what it more likely seems to be. And so because of that, you know, people have never been happy. People have never liked the mob vote. I mean, originally they thought it was cool, and then the Phantom got added to the game, and nobody liked the Phantom. So since then, people have been down on the mob vote. Right? The Glow Squid won because of Dream, as everyone puts it. Then, and lost to the Moo Bloom, which I think the Moo Bloom sucked. I stand by it. I do not like the Moo Bloom. I thought the Isolager was way more interesting. And then the next year, the, what one? It was it was the Copper Golem, the glowy thing, or the flyy thing. Oh, the Allay. The Allay won the next year. And the Allay's okay, but they're not practical. Like, they're just not like, I've had one the last 2 times I've played the game, and they're just not practical. Especially when you travel through the Nether a bunch, they get stuck in the Nether so easily. And whenever you turn off the game and turn it back on, they tend to forget you exist. So that just makes them even less useful. I mean, I know, right, someone like Mumbo Jumbo is going to come along and do something great with them. But for the most part, they're just not practical. And then the Sniffer, we talked about the Sniffer last week. I cleared an entire ocean biome where you can find them. And I found a single Sniffer egg. And I only went looking for it to get the achievement. If I was just casually playing the game, I would have never found the Sniffer. It is so much rarer. And, right, they put it in eggs in the ocean. And really, the only reason to go get it is either for the achievement or for aesthetic purposes. And you need multiple of them to breed, right? If you're going to breed, like, a bunch of them, then you're going to have to get 2 eggs, and that sounds like a pain in the ass. Again, one of Mojang's modern problems is they make things too rare. Right? They're adding all this new stuff to the game. But, oh, right, like armor slates. It's a purely cosmetic thing. It should be cheap as hell and easy to find, right? You should be easily able to find it, make more of it, because it's purely cosmetic. It adds nothing, and because of that, it should be cheap. But no, it's one of the most expensive things in the game. Because Mojang is trying to find a use for more diamonds, and instead of making things cool, they're just going to make armor slates cost a stupid amount. And yeah, the Sniffer. Okay, we've added this new mob that looks okay. Oh, we're going to make it super rare. It's got like I'm going to guess it's got like a 6% chance of spawning. It might be more common than that, but it doesn't feel like it. And oh, it drops these cool new flowers that I think look fine. I know torchlights in real life don't give off light, but I kind of wish they did in the video game because it is a video game. But nope. And I think the picture pawn also looks fine. Oh, map's updated. So, yeah. So people are pissed at the mob vote. People have not liked the mob vote in a long time. And so on TikTok, the first person I saw it from was a user named Karma. Just simply going by Karma. And they showed a series of posters, right? I should have found the posters before this. But, right, there's like one that's like a boot with Mojang on it. There's one that's remember what you could have had. There's another one that's united we bargain, divided we beg. Dear Mojang, shut the fuck up. We're tired of your bullshit. Support the modders. Boycott the mob vote. What we want is all of them, not just the crab. Stop being lazy, Mojang. There's another guy with a puppet. The mob vote allows the community to shape the game. No, it doesn't. Mojang is getting lazy. Boycott the mob vote. Give us all 3. They took too long to add littles. That keeps us divided. We've had enough. And finally, we must not fight one another. This is the enemy. And it's right, Mojang it's a Mojang arm stabbing a block. They're really well-designed posters. And I took my hand, over on Twitter, I took my hand at and designed a poster as well. I simply riffed off of the communist Long Live Marxism poster. But I thought it was funny. And then I used the wrong Union song. But yeah, it was a series of posters set to Feed the Machine by Poor Man's Poison. And it just took off. You know, and the more people started talking about it, eventually it started getting picked up by major news sites. Someone started a petition that is at over 300,000 signatures. Which, you know, in the grand scheme of things, that's a small drop in the bucket. But if I've learned anything since the COVID era, it's that you can bully a company into doing whatever you want, right? It literally just took a single guy exploiting Twitter to lower the price of insulin, right? You can bully a company into doing whatever the fuck you want. Of course, you know, assuming we win the mob vote here and they give us all 3, I really hope some people look at that and realize, oh, this works for everything else as well. Oh, you sick of student loan repayments? Guess what? Boycott the government. Guess what? Unionize. That'd work. You sick of, again, pharmaceutical costs being too high? You know, you want universal health care? Unionize. You sick of 60-year-old politicians that can't do nothing? You know, the living dead in Washington, D.C.? Fucking unionize. Unionizing fixes all of our problems. And people are so fucking close to figuring that out. But instead they're just going to use it to get a penguin and an armadillo into a video game. Yep. To be fair, Republicans have the exact same problem. They're so fucking close to figuring it out, and yet they always return to, oh, Donald Trump is the solution. Even though he's the exact problem. They're so fucking close to figuring it out. And yet they can never take that last logical progression. Or even do the exact, take the exact opposite progression with Trump. They're so fucking close. But no, since then I've seen a lot of people just come out, support the revolution. There's one specific Twitch, because, you know, I made a post about it. Now I keep getting a TikTok account that's all about the revolution. And, you know, people are having fun. Again, you're getting some very creative people out here doing some very creative stuff. And I think it's probably going to work. Because last year when people were mad at Mojang about the birch logs, they did kind of have to address that. And the birch forest and the fireflies. I think people are way more mad this year. Right? I feel like this is way more vocal than it was last year. And I don't think that... Because... Here's the thing. A lot of people who say Mojang are lazy, I think are disingenuous. Mojang isn't lazy. Right? We spent an entire 50 minutes last week talking about why they're not. Because it's more complicated than that. But... I get why Mojang does the mob vote, right? They want the players to, like I said earlier, they want them to feel like they're, you know, shaping the game. But the mob vote just doesn't work. It divides us. It makes us hate each other. Because only one of the mobs get into the game, and the other 2 are just lost forever. They, I guess at some points have said they're not lost forever. Yeah, it's been, 7 years, and the Great Hunger, that Blaze thing, and the weird, Vine Snatcher thing, or Ocean, you know, the Barnacle from Half-Life, have not been added to the game. They're lying, right? They're just obviously lying. So, what's the solution then, right? Mojang wants something that gets us, you know, as a community, that brings us together. But the mob vote just divides us and makes us hate each other. And while, again, there's no such thing as bad publicity, there is such thing as bad publicity. I'm just going to say it. So you know, they always say if you're going to talk about a problem, you need to offer solutions. So, I come with a solution, Mojang, because your problem isn't the game, it's a PR problem. The mob vote is bad PR. So, you want to do some good PR? Here's my answer. Do y'all remember this? Way back in the 3DS and Wii U era, they did a fighter ballot for Smash Bros. Right? Do you want your favorite video game to join the battle? Well, here's your chance. Post the character's name, right? Gender, character you're voting for, title of the game it appears in, and why your character should become a fighter. This is what Mojang should do. This is the solution to Mojang's problem. Instead of giving us 3 different mobs to vote from and dividing us as a community, instead, they should just create a ballot where we suggest the mobs. We vote for them. Because you're going to have, right, and maybe like, oh, that's too chaotic. If we've learned anything from the Smash Bros. Ballot, it's that communities will come together to vote for their favorite characters, right? Some YouTuber will suggest the Penguin, and all of their followers will go vote for the Penguin, right? Some YouTuber will suggest the Armadillo, and their community will go for the Armadillo. Someone will suggest the glowier squid, and everyone votes for the glowier squid. So you get people united around certain causes, and then you just take the top 10 from the ballot, and then figure out, do this like a month before Minecon. And then just figure out, like, hey, which one would make the best mob, right, from the top, 10, and then just do one of them. So that way, the community is there shaping the game, but all this dividing, all this fighting doesn't matter because, you're getting the player mob vote, and then at Minecon be like, hey, this is, this mob was voted for, right, someone voted for, let's just make something up, the Eagle, right? Someone voted for the Eagle over 1 million times, right? People voted for it. So that's the next mob we're adding to Minecraft. And then, they just kind of got to figure out what they're going to do with it. That's how you do it. You let the players create the mobs, and then you just figure out, like, hey, what would be cool to do with an Eagle? Maybe in this why should the mob be added, you allow players to suggest things, and then guess what? When the mob is actually revealed, you show shit like that, You show how the community helped influence the game. And then that gets rid of all the modder, right? People comparing the modders to Mojang. That solves that problem because the modders can't make these things in one day. I mean, they still, some modder will suggest like, hey, you should add a vulture to Minecraft. And then they'll mod a vulture in to show how it would be cool. And then guess what? People will add that and yeah, maybe Mojang takes influence, maybe they don't. I don't know. Mojang has a weird relationship with mods that, again, I think it's all red tape. Mojang is just so filled with red tape that they can't actually fucking do anything. But this is the solution. This is how you do a mob vote without dividing the player base. Just a thought. But I think it'd work. At least once. Give it a try. Maybe if it blows up in your face, it blows up in your face. But it's worth a try. So yeah, that's my solution to the problem. Again, it's a PR issue. So here's some PR. God, I wonder. Minecon is in, 3 days? I think it's on Sunday. I don't know what they're going to do. But there's no way they don't address it. That's the thing. They've got to address it in some way. It's just, does it all explode? That's the big question. Does it all explode? And because in the back of my head, well, right, people are calling Mojang lazy for only adding one mob or whatever. Or for doing these, small, Tails and Trails updates and whatnot. I'm pretty sure behind the scenes, Mojang is working on a big update. Right? There's all these hints at a new dimension. Be that the new music disc or the portal in the ancient city. There seems to be all these hints at a new dimension. So, while Mojang is, right, the Trails and Tails update is very small, behind the scenes, I'm pretty sure they're working on something big. The question is, will they show us it? And last year they showed us fucking nothing. And I think that was a problem, right? People were mad at Mojang for showing stuff that was concept art. And so their solution to that problem was to just not show us anything. And I think that was the wrong approach, right? I get not promising the moon because people will be disappointed. But if you're working on something, show us something. Because this, I'm not going to say this is a make it or break it year, like I would for like a Nintendo Direct. But you've made enemies, Mojang. And I feel like, coming out, showing us, hey, guess what? And the game's going to have a new dimension, and we're doing all this cool stuff. You don't even have to tell us what... You just have to say, new dimension, show us some art, maybe show us, like, one of the new mobs or whatnot. Because there's got to be more than one new mob in this new dimension. I mean, there might not be, but there could be. Right? Give us that stuff. Make us feel excited for the game again. Because I like the Caves and Cliffs update. I thought it was cool. I just feel like a lot of people were disappointed by it because it was split up into 3 parts. The stuff that was added in the game, the new caves, the new cliffs and whatever, but the new caves in the ancient city, I think are really fun. It's just because the update was so split up, a lot of people were disappointed by it. But I love exploring the ancient cities. I think it's a fantastic addition to the game. And I think a new dimension is going to be really cool, if that is in fact what they're doing. But it's delayed reward. That's exactly it, right? We voted, right? Caves and Cliffs is something people have always wanted. But because it took us so long to get them, we got that delayed satisfaction. They showed the Warden like 3 years before it was added to the game. Or something wild like that. It might have been... And again, COVID doesn't help. COVID definitely does not help in all that. But it's that delayed gratification. That's kind of a problem. And that's where transparency helps. Again, I know people are clamoring at the teeth for Metroid Prime 4. But Nintendo coming out and saying, we're restarting development on Metroid Prime 4, has bought them 6 years of goodwill. Because anytime anyone's like, where's Metroid Prime 4? We can just say, they restarted the game. It takes a long time to make a game from scratch. And not everyone, but some people will be like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. That's where we're at. That's where we're at with all this. I stand by, it's a PR issue. Alright, I need some water. I'm gonna go find some water. I will be right back. Alright. Let's spin the prize ball, I guess. Oh, okay. Alright, let's jump back into it. So, next up we got WIBE. Food. I said I had a food thing. The new... it's not new. I think they did it either last year or 2 years ago. Burger King did a Ghost Pepper Whopper. And I'm not a huge fan of Burger King. They're not the worst burger I've ever had, but they're definitely far from the best. But I remember thinking the Ghost Pepper Whopper was okay. Years ago, they did an Angry Whopper that had like a red bun. And I thought that was really, this was back in like 2016. Around then. Maybe 2017. I don't know. It was my first year of college. I think it was my first year of college. Maybe? I don't know. A long time ago, they did a Ghost Pepper Whopper. Or a Angry Whopper. That was like a spicy Whopper. And I remember really liking that. So when I hear the Ghost Pepper Whopper and it's like a spicy Whopper, I'm like, oh, that might be good. So I got the Ghost Pepper Whopper today on my drive home from work. And yeah, I thought it was fine. You know, it's not the best burger, you know, because I'm not a big spicy food guy. I think I've said that before. But yeah, you know, I think it's okay. You know, it's Burger King. Would this be better from somebody else? Maybe. Probably. You know, probably somebody else could do this better. But I don't hate it. Yeah, you know, I got that. I got some fries, which there was I tell the story every time. There was a period in time where I thought Burger King had the best fries in the business. Probably, maybe around that time of, 2016. Maybe even, it could have been like 2010 for all I know. At one point, I thought Burger King had the best fries. And then, yeah, you know, I know things change, you know, recipes change all the time. I remember Wendy's used to have a good fry, and then they didn't. And I can't even remember the last time I had Wendy's fries. I honestly don't get fries that often anymore. But I was like, yeah, okay, I'll just get a combo with some Burger King fries, and I got a milkshake. Because, you know, spicy food, milk, makes sense. Made sense in my head, and yeah, it worked fine. Yeah, would I recommend the Angry Whopper, or the Ghost Pepper Whopper? There are worse things you could have, but there are also better things. It's, you know, again, I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, Burger King, you know, they're making an orange bun. I'm sure they're using orange number 5 or one of those chemicals that are, you know, banned in Europe. But fun fact, Burger King actually doesn't use those chemicals. Burger King actually use, like, when they did the Red Whopper, right? It was like, oh, it's a red bun. So did they use, you know, the red number 5, the same one they use in, like, Mountain Dew? No, actually, Burger King uses beetroot to dye their burgers, right? They use organic compounds, no chemical. You know, when I say no chemicals, you know what I'm talking about, right? Those red 12s, yellow number 5s, whatever they're called. Yeah, no, Burger King actually keeps it organic, which is why you will never see a purple burger. So, I actually kind of really respect Burger King for that. It sucks their food isn't that good, right? I wish I liked them more, because that's actually like, oh, you know, that's actually kind of respectable. But yeah, so it was okay. You know, I've had worse, but I've had better. Could be worse. I could be eating at Arby's. Is that the worst fast food burger I've ever had? No, it can't. I feel like there should be something worse than an Arby's burger. But I can't think of anything worse. Ugh. So let's see. What else do I got? I played more Vampire Survivors. I hadn't played in a while, but I was like, oh, you know, I've got an audiobook to finish. So I'll play some Vampire Survivors and finish my audiobook. And I played Vampire Survivors and I finished my audiobook, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But I specifically did the second, right? I did the first DLC the last time I played. You know, Mount Moonspell or whatever it was called. So this time I'm like, okay, let's do the second DLC. And it's okay. I definitely like the Mount Moonspell weapons more. Specifically, it's not God's Eye, but it's something like that. God something. God Keep or something. That weapon is so... You know, you gotta get it all leveled up. You gotta get it to evolve. But once you do... Oh boy, does that one work pretty well. the and then right, there's some interesting things because I technically haven't finished it yet. There's still like one or two things I have to do, but I like where you have to do some of these levels with and like you have to upgrade certain weapons to break crystals. Right, like the first time you have to do it, you have to use the upgrade of the bow and arrow called, I think it's called Millionaire. And then the second time you have to use the sword. And then the third time you have to use, I think it's the orb. I don't remember. I think it's the orb though, that sounds right in my head. And I think that's cool, right? Having to upgrade certain weapons to unlock the next thing. Because normally that just happens like after you run out of your 30 minutes. Then you get like the, hey, you've done this thing, now you've unlocked the next thing. But in this one, you actually do something tangible, and then that unlocks it. Or right, like doing the millionaire thing didn't actually unlock the next level. It just it didn't unlock the next character. It unlocked the next level, and then doing the thing in the next level unlocked the orb in the character. At least I think I know it for sure unlocked the orb. It's interesting. It's interesting. It's still a fantastic game. I hope we get there was that whole thing with Laura Kate Dale about the Director's Edition. And I really hope we get that, right? Because they're like going onto the moon. I want to say there was like a playable egg. Santa Claus was playable. Because, instead of having Satan water, they have Santa water. And it's like, is that a typo? No, turns out it was not a typo. But we'll see if that ever comes to fruition. But no, so I played more of that. There's still like a few things I need to do. Like one of the things is you have to in a single run, you have to defeat 10,000 or 100,000 enemies with the Sigma or whatever it's called. And I've not even gotten close. I think I've gotten to like 500,000 or in half of 100,000. I mean 500,000. 50K. So I've still got a long way to go before that one. I'm sure there's some sort of trick to it, but that's like one of the few things I'm missing. I think I'm missing I think it's like 10 achievements, or 10 unlocks, or whatever it's called. Not much, but yeah, I think it's like 10. It might even be less than that now. But I'm really close to having everything finished. I don't think I'm at... Right, I know I've the 100-hour promise. I don't think I'm at the 100 hours yet, but I'm close. Or at least I'm probably halfway there, I mean. I'm close. Honestly, halfway isn't bad. For me, anyways. I do really enjoy Vampire Survivors. It is very good. Easy recommendation. Easy. It's definitely making the Game of the Year list. Pretty high as well. I say that, but this has been an amazing year for gaming. And we've got a Mario and a Spider-Man game coming out in like 7 days. So I played that. If you remember a few weeks ago, I talked about a game called Storyteller. So it's a simple game where you're like recreating like stories, right? It's like a puzzle game where you're given like, oh, it's Adam and Eve. And you have to make Adam and Eve fall in love. And then you have to make them get tempted by the apple. And then one of them dies, right? Is smited by God, who is a triangle. And so it's an interesting little game that I guess is on Netflix. So if you haven't, you know how Netflix has their like gaming section now? I'm pretty sure I bought it on Switch, but I found out at a later point that I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix. And last month, they released a new content update. So they released a content update that, again, I'm pretty sure it's on Switch, it's on Netflix, it's on all the things. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll get around to that. And yeah, this week I finally got around to it. It added probably about, 10 new levels. Not like an insane amount of new levels, but I'd say probably around 10 new levels. Just in, the general story mode. So it's like, okay, because my big problem with the game was that it was too short. I beat the game in, a few hours, and then it was like, oh, boom, you 100%ed it, that's it. So that was my big problem with the game. So they added a few new levels, and it's like, okay, But then they added these new devil levels. So after you beat the game, you unlock the devil. And there are certain levels you can go back to and play with the devil in them. And the devil, like, changes things? So, like, for example, there's a level, you know, where they do Snow White. Where you, kind of, where you have an evil witch who's in love with the prince, but the prince is in love with Snow White. So you can turn Snow White into a frog, and then the prince kisses the frog to turn Snow White back to normal. I know that's also Princess and the Frog, but you get my point. That's the basic premise. But you add the devil to that, and instead of turning the Snow White into a frog, it instead turns the witch into a frog. And then you can get the witch to try to kiss the prince, and, right, the prince won't kiss the witch, and so she fails, and you beat that level. And there's a bunch of stuff like that. Like, there's one where there's, like, levels where you can have, like, a butler steal a gun to kill the duke. But then you can have the devil switch out the real gun with a fake gun, so that way the duke fails to kill, or the butler fails to kill the duke. And then you can give the duke the real gun and have the duke kill the butler for, you know, the failed assassination attempt. So it's shit like that. Right? The devil, like, just twists things, and they're not all major, you know. Sometimes it's just like, oh, you can use there's levels where you have to lock people up in cages, and, you know, they get rescued by somebody else, and you can use the devil as, like, a stand-in to get someone locked in a cage without altering how the character is affected by other characters, so that way you can get people to murder each other. Trust me, it makes sense if you actually play it. But yeah, there's, I think, 11 devil levels, and they're fine additions. I think they're interesting, especially, you know, having you go back and replay old levels. I feel like it would make more sense, because you can basically play through the entire game in a single sitting, even with the, like, basically 20 new levels. And I think they'd probably flow a lot better if you play the entire game in a single sitting. So yeah, I enjoyed all the new stuff, and then the last thing they added was achievements. They're not like achievements for, like, beating the game, even though I wouldn't be surprised if those exist on Xbox, but instead they're achievements for, like, doing certain things. So, like, if you're playing a level and you recreate the story of Romeo and Juliet, well, that's an achievement. If you're doing, right, one of the, like, that frog level where where the witch can turn into a frog, you can make two frogs kiss, and that's an achievement. If you have two people who are in love, and they both die and meet back up as ghosts, that's an achievement. Right? Stuff like that. And so they added, I'd probably say, like, 20 or 30 achievements. I feel like naturally just playing the game, you'll get a few of them, but because I was playing on an already completed playthrough, there were I wish you could just at any point, like, press a button and just see the achievement menu. So that way it'd be like, oh, well, I know I need an achievement about, Adam and Eve. So while I'm playing an Adam and Eve level, I can just be like, okay, well, what do I need to do? Or what is the achievement hinting at? Because they don't tell you how to get it. They're just, like, little, like, maybe, like, 5-word hints at what you're supposed to do. But instead, you have to go back to the level select menu, go to the end of the book, pick your thing, and then you have to go back to a level, right? Sometimes, like, let's say a level needs, like, the character Isabel. Well, I don't always know. The game doesn't tell you which levels Isabel is available in. So you kind of got to use a little trial and error to find them. And I feel like you're more likely to just naturally find them playing through the game, assuming you can get achievements as you go. But I feel like the achievements are a good idea. You know, I feel like that's something that, you know, like kind of like Untitled Goose Games, where you have, like, these bonus list items that, you know, ask you to go back to areas, and some of them you can find along the way. You know, like in Untitled Goose Game, it's like, you know, just casually playing through the game. If you lock the farmer out of the farm, that's a that's like a hidden achievement, right? A hidden list objective. So, you know, having these, I'm like, yeah, they're a good thing to have. Like, I'm not, like, mad that they're there or anything. I just wish there was like an easier way to see what they were. And there might be an easy way to see them, but the game is very minimalist. Like, it doesn't... Because, you know, it's also like an iPad game. It doesn't use that many buttons. It probably plays better on an iPad, honestly. But no, I think definitely with all the new stuff, I think the game has probably doubled in length. But if you were to get every achievement, do the new levels, do the double levels, getting all that stuff has probably doubled the length of the game. And I think that's good. I think that's a good thing. I definitely see how they could add more stuff to it. And, you know, maybe they will. You're right, they've already updated the game once for free. This was a free update, I might add. If they do another free update, I wouldn't be surprised, and I'd be on board with it. Even if they do, like, a $5 paid update, I'd probably buy that. You know, that add in some new stories and some new achievements and some new stuff. Yeah. Part of me kind of wishes there was, like, a level creator where it'd make getting the achievements easier anyways, if there was just a level where I had access to everything, and I could just kind of play around with stuff. Because there are still stuff I am right? The fact that you could never make a vampire and a werewolf fight is still kind of disappointing. Because that would be that, in my opinion, is such an obvious thing to add. But nope, you still can't make a vampire and a werewolf fight each other. So, yeah. But no, I think it's I definitely... if you're playing it on, like, Netflix gaming or whatever, yeah, easy recommendation. But if you're, like, buying it on Switch, I think it's, like, $15. And I'd say that's a little harder to recommend. But it's definitely better than it was when I played the game back in, like, June. I definitely recommend it more now. But now that I know it's on Netflix, I just recommend playing it there. It's kind of like playing a game on Game Pass, right? Oh, I don't know if I'd recommend this game, but I definitely recommend it on Game Pass. And then there's, like, I know Gotham Knights got added to Game Pass this week. At least I think it did. And it's like, even with Game Pass, I don't know if I'd recommend Gotham Knights. Because I have played that one. So I hinted at a book earlier, so I guess let's talk about that. Ooh, we got a fist bump. So a few weeks ago, I don't know, like 2 or 3, I mentioned I was reading The School for Good and Evil. Right, it came recommended to me, right? I saw the book's cover had a quote from Rick Riordan, and I was like, oh, you know, okay, I'll give these books a try. And I thought the first book was fine. I wasn't blown away by it, but I enjoyed it. It had, you know, Sophie annoyed the shit out of me, but, you know, that's not that big of a deal. There were some points where I was like, wait, what? I felt like I lost the plot there for a second, but in the end, you know, I've read oh, God. The shit I've read so many things worse. So I started reading the second one, and where I want to say I was like halfway through the second one last time we talked. And I hadn't read it in, like, weeks. So finally, like, this week, or I guess last week now, you know, I picked it up again and I started working through it. And I finished it early in this week. And since then, I've been reading the third one, but we're not really going to talk about that one right now. So the first one was all, right, School for Good and Evil, right? Classic fairy tale characters. Not the characters themselves, but, like, their children. So, right, one of the characters is the descendant of the king, right, King Arthur. And that's, like, the only one you get. At least if I remember correctly in the first book. That's the only, like, where it's like, yep, these are confirmed his parents. He's the son of King Arthur and Guinevere? I want to say in the second book you do actually get a few more. You find out that no... And maybe the villains are the exception. Because I know one of them is the child of the witch from Hansel and Gretel. Another one of them is the child of, not the Sheriff of Nottingham, but something like that. Right, you learn more about the villains than you do the heroes. So I was like, okay, you know, it's a good setup. I know it's been used in like other media before, before and after it. Like, I think that's what Descendants is about. Those Disney movies that I've never seen. So it's like, yeah, okay, this is a decent premise. So the sequel, though, is it goes from a school for good and evil to a school for boys and girls. Basically, all the girls end up in one school, and all the boys end up in a different school. And I'm like, okay, you know, this is a good evolution, right? If the first book is good and evil, the second book being boys and girls makes a lot of sense. And, you know, it kind of plays it like that one Simpsons episode where the boys are all rowdy and mean and, you know, punch, kick, whatever. It plays up to stereotypes. Well, the girls are all pretty and beautiful. Yeah, do they talk about female empowerment and how you don't need a prince? Of course, right? And that message works. I love Cursed Princess Club. If you've never read the webcomic Cursed Princess Club, it's an easy recommendation from me. And that does that message really well. So I was like, okay, you know, I can work with this, especially because the villain is, you know, running the girls' school and is doing the whole female empowerment thing, right? Like, that's the villain's plot at the end of the day. Right? You know, using misogyny to, you know, gain power. But I was interested, and yeah, I do I enjoy the second book more than the first? Kind of. There are some elements I find very interesting. Right, the first book, spoiler alert, by the way, for both the first two books. The first book ends with a lesbian kiss, which I do kind of dislike that they retract on that in the second book, in the third, where they're like, nope, we're not going to do, nope, that's not right. They may have kissed each other. They are not in a romantic relationship. I really wish they had gone all the way with it. Even if it was just Agatha's bi, I would have taken it. But no, they go back on that. But instead, here in the second book, Sophie is trans, question mark? Because she ends up, so to sneak into one of them has to sneak into the boys' school. And it ends up being Sophie. And in order to do so, she disguises herself as a boy named Philip. And she drinks a magic potion that turns herself into a boy. Now, she doesn't want to be a boy. She's not, like, trans, but, you know, she doesn't want to be a boy. But she actually gets the King Arthur son, Tedros, she actually gets along with him pretty well. And they have I guess it's a gay kiss? I mean, she's a he at the time, and they share a kiss. So, yeah, I guess it's a gay kiss? Near the end of the book. Because, yeah, this Tedros guy gets around between these two girls. So I was like, okay, you know, I actually like the whole thing about her becoming a boy, sneaking into the boys' school, actually, right, because she hates Philip. And, like, halfway through the... Oh. Halfway through the book, Agatha sneaks into the boys' school to, like, confront Tedros and be like, oh, let's kiss and end this, right? Let's kiss, finish our story, and all's well that ends well. And then Sophie comes in and ruins everything. Right, she sneaks in, ruins the kiss, makes Agatha think Tedros attacked her, and then Agatha comes crying back to Sophie, and is like, I'll never doubt you again. So that's, again, I definitely, by the end of the book, I liked Sophie a lot more. Not that I hated her. It's just, I liked Agatha more. I thought Agatha was more interesting. So, yeah. By the end of the book, eventually Agatha does figure out what's going on. And then and Agatha and Tedros kiss, eventually, you know, ending their story. But before they end their story, you find out the main villain's plan was actually to revive the main villain from the first book, who's, right, this, like, evil... Oh, what... I know in the second book he goes by Raphael. So we're just going to call him... Or in the third book, I mean, he goes by Raphael. So we're just going to call him Raphael. Or Raphael. I don't think he goes by the full Raphael. I think it's just Raphael. So, right, that's in the third book. So we're just going to call him that. Right, who was the villain from the first book. So they revive him. And after they do... right, Agatha... Sophie kisses him, right, giving evil control of the story, putting evil in charge. The villain from the first book kills the villain from the second book. And now, right, evil has won. Raphael goes to kill Tedros, but Agatha kisses her, sending them home, back to Woods Beyond. So it's like, okay, you know, it's a good place to end the first, right? Basically, evil wins the second book. And I don't know how... I just have the first 3, but I'm pretty sure there are more after that. Honestly, I haven't even looked into it. I knew there were 3 going in, but I think I saw somewhere there might be 6 of these. But it really the third book is called The Last Ever After, and I don't know how you continue on from there. Right? Like this, like, you know, most things go in trilogies for a reason. I know, right, Harry Potter had 7 books, but... Yeah. Percy Jackson had 5. But, right, based on everything that's happened, right, it really does... I feel like what I've read from the third book so far, I'm like, okay, this should be the last one. But I know it isn't. So what I've read so far from the third book... you find out that as a not married couple, Tedros and Agatha are having relationship issues. Basically, their honeymoon phase is over before it started. And now everything's going terribly wrong. But you find out that Agatha's mom was a witch, which was hinted at in, like, the first book. Right, in the first book, she tells Agatha that Sophie's going to be disappointed when she gets to the school, because it's not all it's cracked up to be. So I was like, yep, she's a witch. Yep, I figured that almost immediately. So they find out that, and she sacrifices herself to let her daughter escape and Tedros back into the woods. And then they go through Sophie's mother's grave. And it kind of... So there's this whole thing about, like, Sophie's mother... Right, Sophie wants more than anything to be reunited with her mother. And there's this whole thing about, like, oh, Sophie's mother wasn't able to have a kid, but then Agatha's mother was able to do, like, witchcraft on her to make her have a kid. But also when they go to Sophie's mother's grave, it's empty. But also in the second book, the magic that was used to revive the headmaster was kind of intended to revive Sophie's mother, so she might be alive, and she's buried where the villains are. At least that's where they find her grave. So part of me is like, oh, is Sophie's mother a big villain? I want to say there's something about Agatha's mother having a story and something resulting from... There was something like that. I don't remember all the details off the top of my head. But there was something about, like, Agatha's mother's having a story. And part of me is wondering... Are Agatha and Sophie related? Is Agatha's mom Sophie's mom? And she just... That's why her grave is empty, because she faked her death? Question mark, question mark, question mark? And just nobody knows about it? Right? Is there some sort of surrogacy thing going on? Right? That, oh, that because of that, that's how they were able to have a kid? Which, again, I liked them being in lesbians together. I don't want this to be how it goes. But I think this is how it's going. I don't know. There's a lot of questions I have, and I'm not even halfway through it. I'm like 100 pages in. And it's like a 400-page book. It's the longest one yet. What else? What else? There's this League of 13, which, again, part of why I'm thinking, like, is this the final one? Which, again, I'm pretty sure it's not. Is because you meet, like, Cinderella and Pinocchio, Peter Pan and Tinkerbell. And they're all, like, old. Because, you know, their stories happened a long time ago. Because most of the other characters are their kids. Or their grandkids. So it's like there's clearly something there. But, you know, you're saying, like, Snow White gets, I'm pretty sure, decapitated at one point. Because they show Snow White. They go to Snow White's cottage. And they find the evil queen there. And she does some sort of curse or something. I know she turns Uma to stone. But I think something else happens there. And meanwhile, this entire time, Sophie's been hanging out with Raphael. Turns out she's a teacher looking for a spy. And I immediately knew who the spy was. Well, at first, I thought the spy was just Dot. Because in the so Dot, Hester, and Annadelle are the evil, like, trio in the first book, right? They're Sophie's roommates who hate Sophie and like Agatha because Agatha's actually evil. But in the second book, they all become friends, right? Now that Agatha and Hester, Annadelle, and Dot are in the same room, or in the same school, right, they're able to become friends. But Dot becomes good, right? Turns out in the school for boys and girls, in the school for girls, she's actually very good at it. And so I was like, okay, Dot is obviously the spy, because she enjoyed being good. And then you find out, no, it's actually all three of them. That one, they still consider Agatha their... Because you would, because one of the teachers, Lady Lasso, is like, oh, why would I not be happy with this? Because I always talk about how evil should win, and now evil has won. I'm perfectly happy with this. Even though she's not happy with this because her son is trying to kill her, whole other thing. But it's like, oh, it would make sense if Hester and Annabelle were happy and Dot was unhappy and she was the traitor. But no, that's not how it plays out. Instead, it turns out all three of them are the traitor, which I think is more interesting story-wise. And yeah, that's kind of where I ended off with, again, they use the gender swap potion to swap, Tedros becomes a girl and Agatha becomes a boy. And I'm like, okay. Because right, the gender swap potion was created by Merlin. And you do meet Merlin again. Oh god, in the second book, okay, one of the problems I do have with it is they're talking about how, like, the, headmaster must have a spy in the school for boys. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense, right? The villain of the second book. And then I'm like, okay, well, who's the spy? They think it's, Beatrix, who is like this goody-goody two-shoes teacher's pet from the first book. But there's this new student whose name I don't remember. At least I don't remember her name. I remember his name. And you find out that, because they never talk, right? They're a mute. But they kind of hint at it, that one of the things about the gender swap potion is it doesn't change voices, right? It can make you look like the opposite gender, but it can't affect your voice. And since this character is mute, it's like, okay, they're obvious. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. They're gender swapped, because you don't find about the potion until way later on. But the problem is, so they have this character who, right, is mute because they've been gender swapped and they're actually a boy. But they just do nothing in the story. Like, if they had been in the background, if they had been eavesdropping, right, if they had just done anything, then I'd be like, okay, you know, I guess that's good build-up, right? That's payoff, and then finding out about the voice thing would make a lot of sense. But I honestly forgot the character existed. That's probably why I didn't figure out the twist as fast, because I forgot the character fucking existed. The boy part you see at another point. The boy part is Tristan, who Agatha's roommate in the first book, Kyoko? I don't remember which. She's got a crush on Tristan, even though Tristan has a crush on Beatrix. And it turns out he's the spy, right? He hated the boys' school. Is he trans? Honestly, it's kind of worse if he is, because they immediately kill him off. Right? The Lady Lasso's son kills him off, even though you don't know it's her son at the time. So yeah, you know, they buried their gays. So it's not a good thing if he was. But you can totally read it that way. You can totally read it that way if you want. But yeah, he's Tristan slash, it's not Yuba. Yuba's the gnome. It starts with a Y though. Is probably my biggest problem with the second book. It's just a very poorly handled character that you seriously forget about, and their being a spy is interesting. Because they hint, right, because they keep saying that, oh, it's got to be Beatrix. But us as the reader know it's not Beatrix. Because all the things that they think is Beatrix is Sophie. And you see that way earlier on in the book. So you know it can't be her. So I just think it's less interesting. They definitely could have done that better. But, I don't know. I was right, like the whole the reveal of, in the Owl House. With, oh god, what was her name? The one who Kikimora. The reveal with Kikimora, which is basically like a very similar reveal, is done better. Because, yeah, they're doing very similar things. Yeah. So, yeah, that was the second book. I kind of think I like it better than the first one. But you definitely, need the first one to get there, because there's a lot of things that are set up in the first one that pay off in the second one. Yeah. So, I guess that takes us to the outro. Yeah. I know we're kind of close to leveling up, but whatever. So, y'all excited for the solar eclipse on Saturday? I am. I have... When the whole solar Ring of Fire Transit of Venus thing happened back in, 2012, I bought some solar eclipse glasses. Did I buy them? I either got them from a museum, or I bought them from a science my science teacher at the time. He might have been selling them. I kind of don't remember. I want to say I got them at the museum. Or, he might have bought them from the museum and then, being like, hey, you kids want to buy them for $1? And you're like, yeah, okay. Because he was big into that shit. And, yeah, I remember when that happened. I remember seeing both of them. And here we are, 11 years later, and I still have those glasses. And now we're at the next Ring of Fire. Which I want to say at the time, it was it's going to be 11 years till the next one. And here we are 11 years later. God, time flies. Of course, Transit of Venus, I don't think is for another, 200-something years. But yeah, solar eclipse on Saturday. It can be seen through most parts of North America. At least in some capacity. I think there are only certain spots where you can see the Ring of Fire. But, even partial eclipses can be seen in a bunch of other places. So I'm excited for it. I just gotta wake up early enough. Just gotta wake up. Because my schedule is weird this week, because I took tomorrow off, and I took Saturday off, but I'm working Sunday. In exchange. So my schedule's weird this week at work. So, yeah. Because I want to see that solar eclipse, man. I fucking love astronomy shit. They opened up that meteorite the other day, right? The piece of recovered meteorite. It's yeah, this is so fucking cool. Astronomy, man. Love astronomy. Space rocks and shit. So yeah, that's all on Saturday. What else do I have? So we're working, tomorrow... Since, I took the day off tomorrow. We will be back with Spider-Man. We'll be doing the DLC. Got a lot of... I don't remember the DLC being that long. We're definitely not 100%ing it. We're not 100%ing the main game either. Right? No, thank you. I don't want to do all districts. That sounds like a fucking nightmare. But I do want to do, some stuff. So we'll play the DLC. We'll do... I think it's the heist, the city that never sleeps, and I don't remember what the third one is. And it's an okay DLC. Like I said, the main villain sucks, but some of the other stuff is good in it. So we'll do that tomorrow. And then probably next week we'll start Miles Morales. And, we'll slowly work through that. That'll... I know it took us 3 streams to do Spider-Man PS4. I'm gonna guess it's gonna take us 2 streams to do Miles Morales, because I remember that game being a lot shorter. We might just 100% it. I don't know. I'm definitely gonna do a New Game Plus run of that one, because I think we need to for the final achievements I'm missing. I think I need to do a New Game Plus run, so I'm gonna try to do that. Which might make our time easier. So yeah. Anything else? I know Super Mario Wonder comes out next week. And I know people are very excited for that. I know people have been playing the demo. People have been speedrunning the demo at Target, which I think is very funny. But I guess, part of me, I said at the time Mario Wonder was revealed, or when they added, at some point I've said they should add a speedrun mode. And I guess one of the badges you can unlock in the game is a speed badge. That, you can use, that'll probably be a category on speedrun.com to beat the game with a speedrun badge. Or the speed badge. I wish they did have an actual speedrun mode. That would be very cool. Because Mario games are all about replayability. Right? You're supposed to play a Mario game 1,000 times. Hypothetically. So having a speedrun mode would make a lot of sense. But I feel like that's very anti-Nintendo. Right? Even though that's just that's how people have fun nowadays. Right? Nintendo doesn't want players with choice and agency. They want a ducky on a string that will do exactly as they say and not question anything. That be how Nintendo be. Yep. I know the new Sonic game comes out at some point in the near future. I have no plans on playing it. I mean, maybe I'll get around to it before the end of the year. To be fair, I've been saying the same thing about Baldur's Gate 3. Maybe I'll get around to it before the end of the year. But if I don't, I don't. Okay, we got some new ones. A blue tube worm. Or I guess that's not blue, that's green. A Supreme Ness? Does it have funky bowling? God, that's expensive. The Squid Sisters logo. Yeah, so we'll be back next week with Splatoon and Spider-Man and whatnot. Yeah, but yeah, I had to do. So I know I keep saying it's Friday, it's actually Thursday, but I just didn't have time to do this. Right, I didn't, because I'm doing something on. Because tomorrow I want to do Spider-Man. For sure, I want to do Spider-Man tomorrow. But on Saturday, I'm doing something on Saturday night, so I won't have time to stream then. So it was just like, okay, well, I guess I got to do this tonight, even though it's a Thursday. So, it's how it works. But I think that's all I got for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with Spider-Man, and next week with more stuff. Is this working? Is me being... Part of me, it sucks that the eyes... Because most VTubers, when they do shit like this, they put it on the other side. They put it over here like this. But look at the eyes. The fact that the eyes look up and to the right. Or, I guess it'd be my left? I don't know, it's my right. Right? The fact that the eyes look like that just feels kind of weird. At least I thought it did. So I didn't want to do that. but I didn't know where else to, you know, put it. So, yeah, that's kind of how this is at the moment. Part of me thinks I should just flip it, like, you know, mirror it. That might fix my problem, but that might also look weird. I don't know. I've got a lot to figure out. But, yeah, you know, I'm testing it for the moment, and it seems to be working okay. Again, I think it's very sensitive, and I can mess with the dials, but I'll figure it out. You know, you got to start somewheres. But I think it's neat. You know, where's my potato? So yeah, with that, I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.